Good morning, students. I am Manikant Mishra, Modern English School, New Area. Today I am going to discuss law of constant composition, and it is also called law of constant proportion. This law was given by Joseph Proust. In this law, basically, he tries to discuss about the composition of an element in a compound. He tries to discuss the composition of an element in a compound. So, what is a law of constant proportion or law of constant composition? A pure chemical compound always consists of same element combined together in a definite proportion by mass. A pure chemical compound always consists of same element combined together in a definite proportion by mass. What does it mean? Like if you take an example of water. You take the water from a different source, and if you collect the 3 or 4 or 5 sample of water from the different source, from the different place, and all those sample of water, let it undergo the electrolysis process. First of all, we find that in all the samples of water, we got only and only 2 elements, that is of hydrogen and oxygen. The first part of the law of constant proportion, a pure chemical compound always consists of same element. As I said, if you collect the water from the different place or different sources and let it undergo for the electrolysis process, in all the sample we find that during the electrolysis 2 elements we found, that is a hydrogen and oxygen. It means whatever be the source of water, it always consists of 2 elements, that is a hydrogen and oxygen. Now, if you go for the quantitative relation, that during the electrolysis, we found that the 2 volumes of hydrogen and 1 volume of oxygen are collected at cathode and anode. During the electrolysis, 2 volume of hydrogen and 1 volume of oxygen has been collected. Again, if you talk about in the context of mass, we find that 1:8 by mass. 1 part of mass hydrogen combined with 8 part of oxygen by mass and forms water. Okay. Now let us we will apply this law while solving the numerical. So let us see this numerical. As I said just to apply the law of constant proportion by solving one numerical. Keep it in mind, as I said, law of constant proportion is dealt with to study the composition of element. The same element obtained by the different sources, but the constant this composition of element remains constant. As for example, like the mass of copper oxide obtained by heating 2.16 gram of metallic copper with HNO3 and subsequent ignition was found to be 2.7 gram. In another experiment, 1.15 gram of copper oxide on reduction yields 0.92 gram of copper, so that data illustrates the law of constant proportion. So now there are two sources through which we try to obtain the copper and oxygen from copper oxide. We have performed two experiments in order to obtain copper and oxygen from copper oxide. So in a first experiment, weight of copper is 2.16 gram, weight of copper oxide is 2.70 gram, weight of oxygen, we can obtain weight of oxygen from CuO. When we subtract the mass of copper oxide with the Cu, then we can obtain the weight of oxygen, that we have 0.54 gram. Percentage of copper in a copper oxide, percentage of copper in a copper oxide, weight of copper by weight of copper oxide into 100. We are trying to obtain what is the percentage of copper in a copper oxide in a first experiment. Now we have the weight of copper 2.16 gram into 100, by weight of copper oxide we have 2.70. Now if you solve it then it will come approximately 80%. Now percentage of oxygen, again weight of oxygen into 100 divided by weight of copper oxide 0.54. We have the mass of oxygen 0.54 divided by weight of copper oxide of oxygen 0.54, weight of oxygen into 100 divided by weight of copper oxide 2.70 into 100. So when you solve it, it will come approximately 20%. So in a first experiment, the percentage of copper is 80% and percentage of oxygen is 20%. Now come to the second experiment. Weight of copper oxide is 1.15 gram, weight of copper is 0.92, weight of oxygen 0.23 gram. Now percentage of copper equals to weight of copper into 100, weight of copper we have 0.92 into 100 divided by weight of copper oxide. When you solve it, it will come 80%. Now percentage of oxygen, again weight of oxygen into 100 divided by weight of copper oxide. You solve, then it will come to the 20%. So now you see, if you compare the first experiment and second experiment, both we have the copper oxide. What we have the compound copper oxide in both. In a copper oxide, we try to find out the composition of, what are the composition in a copper oxide? Copper and oxygen. In a copper oxide, the composition of element is copper and oxygen. Here you see the copper, percentage of copper in a copper oxide is 80% and percentage of oxygen in copper oxide is 20%. In second experiment also we have the percentage of copper is 80% and percentage of oxygen is 20%. It means a pure chemical compound always consists of same element combined together in a definite proportion by weight. irrespective of the method or the source through which we obtain. This is what law of constant proportion. Thank you. Have a nice day.